Happy Tuesday, second graders. Wait a minute. It's Mrs. Wally and not Miss Oslin. What is going on? Guess what? We've switched it up a little bit. Now we're going to do math first, and then we're going to do ELA second. We decided we needed to change things up and shake it up a bit. So, for this trimester, we're going to do our math lesson first. How fun is that? But before we get into our math lesson, we need to check in with our brains and our bodies and our emotions. I want you to think about, what are you feeling right now? Where would you put yourself on our feelings chart? I think Mr. Kevin looks really angry up there. It's my favorite zones chart. Isn't that funny? I remember the first day he did that. Oh, we laughed so hard. Okay, what zone are you? I'm in the green zone. Today I am just really in the green zone. It's really nice when you have those days, don't you think? Gus, I'm in the green zone today because I got my work done and I was ready for work today. Everything went well as I was getting ready. I got to see Oliver before I left. Most of the time he's sleeping before I leave the house. And he was awake today, so I got to give him a little snuggle. And I'm just feeling really ready and excited for learning. Gus, what zone are you in today? Oh yeah, I know how that feels. Gus said he's kind of in the blue zone because he misses the weekend. I know sometimes on the first day back, I miss the weekend too. How are you feeling? Go ahead, tell your learning buddy. How are you feeling today? What zone are you in and why? Great. Well, today is Tuesday, December 8th. And this is your TV classroom. Let's get ready to learn. You need your whiteboard, your learning buddy, and your counters. So make sure you have those, and then come on back, and we're gonna do some True or False Tuesday. We give you about 10 seconds, and then come on back, and we'll get going. Okay. Are you ready? True or false? 9 is the same as 6 plus 3. Ding, 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 ding. 6 and 3 more is 9. 9 is the same as 9. That is, oh dear, here we go. True. 8 is the same as 4 plus 4. 8 is the same as 4 plus 4. True or false? True. Ding, 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 ding. 1 plus 4 plus 4 is the same as 10. False. 4 and 1 is 9. 2 plus 2 plus 4 is the same as 8. Ding, 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 ding. True. 10 plus 5 is the same as 5. Guess, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, does it? 10 and 5 more equals 5? I don't even have to do the math. That doesn't make any sense. Totally false. Today, we are developing strategies to solve two-step addition or subtraction story problems fluently. Are you ready? Let's read. Write an addition equation and a subtraction equation to solve the problem. All right, well, right now we're not writing anything yet because we're not solving. We're going to do a 3-read. We're going to figure out what we know and what we're trying to figure out, and then we will solve. Dave scores 9 points in a video game. Maria scores 13 points. How many more points does Maria score than Dave? So what's happening here? Yeah, we've got some people and they're playing video games. And what are we trying to figure out? How many more points does Maria score than Dave? Okay. What information do we know? We know that Dave scores 9 points in a game. We also know that Maria scores 13 points. I'm going to solve, you're going to solve, and then when I tell Mr. Kevin, he's going to show my solution and we're going to talk about it. You have about 1 minute and go. All right, are you ready? Let's take a look. I ran out of space. How does your model compare to my model? How are they similar? How are they different? Were you able to find the same answer? Turn and tell your learning buddy. If you got a different answer, I want you to look at your model and see where you made your mistake as I'm explaining my model to you. Okay? What I did is I made a comparison bar model because I know when it asks how many more or how many fewer or less points that I need to stack and compare. So I did Maria on top. She had more points, 13, and Dave on bottom, he had 9 points. And I knew the part that was the same in 13 and 9 is 9. So I was trying to find this part, the different part. And when I'm trying to find the part that's different, I'm finding a difference, which means I subtract. So I made my subtraction equation, 13 minus 9 equals, I don't know. And then I used an open number line. I started at 9, I jumped to the nearest 10, and then I jumped to 13 and I made 4 hops. So I knew 13 minus 9 equals 4, which means she scored 4 more points. Did you get it? Nice job. Go ahead and reset. Let's go on to the next problem. We're going to look at an example of a problem that someone solved. Let's see if we can make sense of it. Keisha's math test score is 95. John's score is 13 points less than Keisha's score. What is John's score? Take a look at how this person showed their work. What do you notice? Oh, it's a little different than I did, isn't it? They're jumping backwards on an open number line instead of forwards. Can you do that when you subtract? Yeah, think about 95 and 13. They're really far apart. Could you make lots of mistakes in your hopping? Yeah, but if you put 95 and just subtract 13, are you going to make less mistakes? Yeah, you have to decide as a mathematician, when do you want to put your whole and your addend and count the in-between part, or when do you want to subtract? You have to decide for your brain which way is more efficient for which problems. And for some problems, you're going to choose one way, and other problems, you're going to choose the other. That's why it's important to know both. So let's check and see if they did their work accurately. They started at 95, and they took away 13. So they jumped back 10 to 85, and then jumped back 3 to 82, and 10 and 3 is 13. So what's John's score? How did you know that? Yeah, because 95 minus 13 is 82. It shows us on the number line, right? They land on 82. So when we count backwards, our answer is the one we land on. Now, when we count the space in between, Our answer is how many hops, right? Let's do that on our whiteboard. Let's check their work by counting the spaces in between and see if we get 82. You ready? Go ahead, draw a line on draw an open number line on your whiteboard. What is our part? 13. What's our whole? 95. Okay, 13 to my next 10, which is 20, is how much? 7, because 7 and 3 makes 10. Now I'm going to get to 90. 20, and what is 90? 70. Very good. Whoops. I was just about to make a mistake. Did you see what mistake I was about to make? I almost wrote 70 down here. I wasn't hopping to 70, I hopped 70. Do you see why this can be a lot more tricky when the numbers are really far apart? So if I hop 70, that puts me at 90, and then I need to hop 5 more to get me to 95. What is 70 plus 7 plus 5? It's 82. Were they correct? They were correct. Which one was easier and had less room for mistakes in it? For this problem, hopping back and subtracting the part or counting the difference in between? Yeah, the hopping back was much easier, wasn't it? All right, let's read. There are 22 people on a train. More people get on at the next stop. Now there are 51 people on the train. How many people get on at the stop? Show your work. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to try and solve this, and then we'll go through it together. But before you work, let's find out what we're trying to solve and what information we know. What's happening here? Yeah, there's some people on a train and more people get on. What are we trying to figure out? How many people get on at the stop? Okay, what information do we already know? We know that 22 people start on the train, and we know at the end there's 51 people on the train. Go ahead, solve. I'm going to give you 1-ish minutes, and then we'll look at my model and compare it to your model and find a solution together. All right, I haven't solved it. I want you just to look at my model and compare it to your model. Go ahead and take a look. My model says there's 22 people on the train. Some more get on at the stop, and there are 51 people on the train now. Okay, so what do we know? Do we know the whole? What's the whole? 51. Do we know the part? 22. We're trying to find another part. Now, 22 and 51. Do you want to take away or count in between? I think that's one of those problems where you're going to hop about the same amount. So you decide. Use the open number line and see if you can figure it out. 22, I'm going to hop forward. 51, 22 to 30 is 8, 30 to 50 is 20, and that's 1. So 51 equals 22. I'm going to actually write this over here. I don't have enough space. we'll do it this way. 22 people on the train. Some get on. Now there's 51. How many get on? Yeah, 29. And look, we've really already checked our work. We did our model. We did a number bond to make sure we're doing the right kind of math. We've done it here on an open number line, and we've found an answer. Now, how could we make sure it's correct? Yeah, just put those two numbers together. What is 22 plus 29? That's 51. We got it correct. Kiss your brains. Nice job. Okay, reset. This just left some space to do work on. I'll actually do it right here because that might be easier for Mr. Kevin than trying to have all three pieces there. So I'm going to have you solve and then I'm going to solve. Let's read together and do our three read. 47 small dogs and 33 big dogs win a red ribbon in the pet show. 28 dogs win a blue ribbon. Ooh, this is one of those two-step problems. So we're going to need to put a line down the middle of our whiteboards. How many more dogs win a red ribbon than a blue ribbon? Show your work. Well, what's happening here? Yeah, we've got dogs winning ribbons. And what are we trying to figure out? How many more dogs win a red ribbon than a blue ribbon? So what information are we going to need to have? How many dogs win a red ribbon and how many dogs win a blue ribbon? So let's look at the information we know. We know 47 small dogs and 33 big dogs win a red ribbon. Then we also know 28 dogs win a blue ribbon. So, first we need to figure out the red ribbon, don't we? Okay. Go ahead and solve for the red ribbon. Ready? Go. You can? Is that okay? Okay. Mr. Kevin is going to switch over to the whiteboard because we think it'll be easier for you to see that way. Okay, are you ready? Mr. Kevin is the best cameraman known in the world. We really love Mr. Kevin. Okay, red. How did you figure out the red ribbon dogs? What did you do? You had 47. And you had 33. And that gave us how many, right? Okay, so what is 47 plus 33? Well, what's 40 plus 30? 70. What is 7 plus 3? 10. What is 70 plus 10? 80. So friends, did you get 80 red ribbons? Okay, so now we know the red ribbons. So now we're going to figure out the how many more. Do you remember what I said earlier? When we figure out how many more or how many fewer or how many less, we do that comparison bar. I'm going to draw the comparison bar and then I'm going to give you another minute and then we're going to be out of time. Actually, I'm just going to do it and show you because I just looked at the clock and we're running out of time. So here we go. Comparison bar, draw that. What number is going to go on top? The red ribbons or the blue? Red. Why red, Gus? Because there's more red ribbons than blue ribbons. And that bar is longer. Okay, how many blue ribbons did we have? 28. Take a look. We're trying to figure out the part that's different. The how many more or how many fewer part. It's the same number. It's the part that's different between the two numbers. So what part's the same between the two numbers? 28. Both of these have 28 in them, right? Okay. Well, when we know a whole and we know a part, what do? Yeah, we find the other part. So we've got 80 minus 29 equals, well, that's what we're trying to figure out. So, open number line, what do you want to do? Oh, you don't want to do open number line. What do you want to do? You want to do 80 minus 20? Well, what's 80 minus 20? 60. And then you want to take 60 and subtract 9, and what do you get? 51. So, how many more red ribbons than blue ribbons?
Mrs. Wally,
Yes.
was it 28?
Was it 28? Yes, 28 dogs win a blue ribbon. Oh my goodness. Mr. Kevin. What would I do without Mr. Kevin? My brain was going. Phew. It's not minus 9. It's minus 8. So what is it? It's not 51, it's 52. You ready? So what's our difference? 52. Do numbers ever get jumbled in your brain? Sometimes they get jumbled in mine. Thanks for being patient, friends. Now, had I checked my work when I was done, would I have found that mistake? I would have. That's why mathematicians always check their work. But I'm so lucky because I have Mr. Kevin back there. So, how many more red ribbons than blue ribbons? 52. We're going to stop there. You have some homework. I want you to do page 217. Tomorrow, we'll do page 218. All right? Okay. I'm not going to do our learning check because we're not done. But were we starting to solve two-step problems? Yes, we were. All right, friends. Next up will be Miss Oslin with your ELA lesson. So make sure you have your learning buddy ready, and then she'll let you know what other materials you might need today. And have a great 5-minute break to take care of all the things you need to take care of. All right? I will see you tomorrow. Bye.
graders, welcome back from your break. I hope that you had an opportunity to take care of your needs and you should have your learning buddy with you. Welcome to a special edition of TV Classroom from Mrs. Oslin's dining room. This is so nerve-wracking for me to be doing this in my dining room. I'm out of my comfort zone and I'm feeling kind of anxious about it. So I am going to practice some deep breathing while you take a moment to check in with yourself at the beginning of our lesson. Here we go. Okay, I feel much better and ready to focus. So let's get started. You'll remember that we've been practicing recognizing when we're feeling a feeling really strongly and using our stop and stay cool steps. You'll remember you want to do this before you do or say anything that you could regret. Today I want to teach you that it is normal for friends to have hurt feelings. It happens to me, it probably has happened to you. And we're going to talk about some times when we've had hurt feelings and what are the best ways to deal with that, because it's going to happen. Think about what is an example of a time when you worked through a problem or a conflict with a friend by talking it out. Take some think time. We've been practicing using a lot of win-win conflict solutions. We practiced apologize, take turns, share, fix the problem, and get help. And today we're going to learn talk it out as a solution. You'll remember in our book, Jamaica and Brianna by Juanita Haville and illustrated by Anne Sibley O'Brien, there were two friends and they had a conflict that ended up with some hurt feelings. Do I have to wear Aussie's boots? Jamaica asked her mother. Until I have a chance to buy you new boots, her mother said. Jamaica pulled on Aussie's old gray boots. I don't want to wear these boots. They're boy boots. Her father shook his head. They're unisex boots for boys or girls. But they're too tight. Her mother scrunched the toe of the boot. They fit fine for now. Jamaica slomped through the wet snow to the bus stop. She looked at a tiny hole in the toe of Aussie's right boot. Maybe the hole would get bigger. Then she would have to get new boots. Jamaica's friend Brianna was already there. Hi, she shouted. Then she said, Jamaica, you're wearing boy boots. Brianna's boots were pink with fuzzy white cuffs. They weren't brand new, but they still looked good. Jamaica shrugged. She wished that Brianna didn't talk so loud. Everyone would notice. At school, Jamaica jerked the boots off. The hole in the toe ripped wider. She could poke her finger all the way through now. You should be more careful, her mother said when Jamaica got home. I'm afraid it can't be fixed. I'm sorry, Jamaica said. She was sorry not to be careful, but she wasn't sorry about the boot. Now she would have to get new boots right away. There are so many boots, Jamaica told her mother at the shoe store. I want them all. She saw a pair of pink boots. They looked shinier than Brianna's boots, and the cuff around the top was fluffier. What about the pink boots, her mother said. But Brianna has pink boots. She'll think I copied. Jamaica pointed to a pair of tan boots. Look at those, Mother. They look like real leather cowboy boots. See the curly design? Those are the ones I want. Are you sure, Jamaica? Aren't those boy boots? Oh no, they're for boys or girls. They were nothing like Aussie's boots. They were beautiful and they were soft and warm inside. Jamaica wore the cowboy boots home. The next morning, Jamaica ran to the bus stop. She crunched through the snow. Where did you get those boots? Brianna asked. Uptown with my mother, Jamaica said. They're cowboy boots. Brianna came closer and looked at Jamaica's boots. Cowboy boots aren't in. Jamaica was surprised. They're in for me, she said, but her feet felt heavy as she tramped past Brianna. I saw boots just like yours, Brianna, but I didn't get them because they were ugly. Brianna looked like she might cry. She turned around and walked off. Now, this is where our friends have some hurt feelings, and we're learning today that that's normal, but it's important to solve the problem. You'll remember we can use the peace path to help us solve the problem. Brianna and Jamaica can start by telling the problem, where Brianna would use an I message and then Jamaica would say it back. So take a moment and think about what Brianna's I message might sound like. Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you think Brianna's I message might sound like. I think it might sound like this. I feel mad because you said my boots were ugly. And then Jamaica would need to say it back. You feel mad because I said your boots were ugly. Then they would need to put their heads together and brainstorm some solutions. Think of what would be a conflict solver that Brianna and Jamaica could use. Turn and tell your learning buddy what you think would be an appropriate conflict solver for Brianna and Jamaica to use. Then Brianna and Jamaica would come together and decide which win-win solution they're going to try to solve their problem. This is another book that we read, Chester's Way by Kevin Henkes, and it's also about friends. Let's remind ourselves. Chester had his own way of doing things. Hello, my name is Chester. I like croquet and peanut butter and making my bed. He always cut his sandwiches diagonally. He always got out of bed on the same side, and he never left the house without double knotting his shoes. Chester always had the same thing for breakfast, toast with jam and peanut butter. And he always carried a miniature first aid kit in his back pocket, just in case. You definitely have a mind of your own, said Chester's mother. That's one way to put it, said Chester's father. Chester's best friend, Wilson, was exactly the same way. That's why they were best friends. Chester wouldn't play baseball unless Wilson played, and they never swung at the first pitch or slid head first. Wilson wouldn't ride his bike unless Chester wanted to, and they always used hand signals. If Chester was hungry, Wilson was too, but they rarely ate between meals. Some days I can't tell those two apart, said Wilson's mother. Me either, said Wilson's father. Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was. They loved to go on picnics. When Wilson accidentally swallowed a watermelon seed and cried because he was afraid that a watermelon plant would grow inside him, Chester swallowed one too. Don't worry, said Chester. Now if you grow a watermelon plant, I'll grow one too. Chester duplicated his Christmas list every year and gave a copy to Wilson because they always wanted the same things anyway. For Halloween, they always dressed as things that went together. Salt and pepper shakers, 2 mittens on a string, ham and eggs. They really are 2 peas in a pod, said Chester's mother. Looks like it, said Chester's father. In spring, Chester and Wilson shared the same umbrella. In winter, they never threw snowballs at each other. In fall, they raked leaves together. And in summer, they reminded each other to wear sunscreen so they wouldn't burn. Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was. And then Lily moved into the neighborhood. Lily had her own way of doing things. I'm Lily. I am the queen. I like everything. She wore band-aids all over her arms and legs to look brave. She talked backwards to herself sometimes so no one would know what she was saying. And she never left the house without one of her nifty disguises. Lily waved at all the cars that passed by, even if she didn't know who was in them. And she always carried a loaded squirt gun in her back pocket, just in case. She definitely has a mind of her own, says Chester. That's one way to put it, said Wilson. When Lily asked Chester and Wilson to play, they said they were busy. When she called them up on the phone, they disguised their voices and said they weren't home. If Lily was walking on one side of the street, Chester and Wilson crossed to the other and hid. She's something else, said Chester. Looks like it, said Wilson. Now, we used this book to learn about the rule no one gets left out and the importance of including everyone. Let's take a minute to think about how Lily might be feeling and what she can do about it. Take some think time. You might have said that she can use an iMessage to tell Chester and Wilson how she's feeling, and then they can talk out the problem. Here's another situation that I want to see if we can work through together. You are at school, and you and your friend, Gabriella, always do partner reading together. One day, when your teacher says it's time for you to choose partners, Gabriella chooses someone else. Take some think time about what you could do, how you would feel first, and what you could do to solve that problem with Gabriella. Take a minute. You can use the feelings tree to help you if you're having a hard time identifying what you would feel. You'll remember, if you're recognizing that you would feel a 4 or a 5 on the feelings thermometer, you would want to stop and think before you say or do anything that you know you shouldn't do. Step 1 is going to be to tell the problem. This is where you would tell Gabriella how you're feeling. I feel because So think about, what would your iMessage to Gabriella sound like? Turn and tell your learning buddy what your iMessage would sound like. Mine might sound like, I feel sad because you didn't choose me as a reading buddy and we're always reading buddies. Then Gabriella would say it back. You feel sad because I didn't choose you as a reading buddy. Then we're going to brainstorm solutions. That means you're going to think about what are some possible win-win solutions to this problem. Take some think time. Turn and tell your learning buddy the win-win solution you came up with that you think would help solve this problem. Now the next step would be for Gabriella and I to come together and talk about which win-win solution we were going to try. Here are some possible win-win conflict solvers. Think about and give me a thumbs up if you think this is an appropriate win-win conflict solver for this solution, or a thumbs down if you don't think that would work. Share. That doesn't really work in this situation. Take turns. That doesn't really work in this situation either. Apologize. Gabriella could say, I'm sorry it hurts your feelings that I didn't choose you. But what about talking it out? Talking it out might sound like, we were reading buddies yesterday and we can be reading buddies tomorrow. That way I know that we still get to be friends and reading buddies, but Gabriella gets to choose who she wants. Here's another situation. There are some friends on the playground and they both want to be on the same team, but their teams are already decided. How do you think these friends could solve this problem? Take some think time. First, it would start with an iMessage. Then they would brainstorm possible win-win solutions. Then they would choose one to solve the problem. So let's think about, what would your iMessage be? Say it to your learning buddy. Now, what would be some win-win solutions to solve this problem? Take some think time. Next, you would come back together with the person you're having a problem with and decide which win-win solution you're going to try to solve the problem. Are you going to share? That doesn't really work in this situation. What about take turns? Maybe you could take turns being on the team. Apologize? Not really. What about our new one? Talk it out. Could you have a conversation with someone about the teams and figure out a way to make it fair for everyone? Yeah. Today we're learning that it's normal for friends to have hurt feelings, but it's always solvable with a win-win solution and sharing your iMessage. So think about a time, or an example of a time, when you worked through a problem with a friend by talking it out. Take some think time. And that's what your independent work is going to be today. In your writing notebook, you're going to write about a time when you worked through a problem with a friend by talking it out. You're going to use your troublemaker words or your tackle a word chart to help you if you need to. You're also going to practice reading the word wall. You'll remember, or a page in your Snapwords book. You'll remember you can read it loud like a monster, scary like a witch, squeaky like a mouse, whisper like a secret, or invent your own. And if it's okay with you and you're an adult, they can record you and send it to us in our email at TV Classroom. Or you could write it in a letter and we'll tell all the second graders in Tacoma about your special way that you read your Snapwords book. We have some special guests coming up. Tomorrow, Wednesday, December 9th, our superintendent, Carla Santorno, will be here to talk with us. Then on Wednesday, December 16th, we'll have a video from our Tacoma Fire Department. Now, it's time for our affirmation. I want you to take a moment, take some deep breaths, and just remind yourself, I can do hard things. Go ahead and say that to yourself out loud. I can do hard. Have a fabulous day, second graders. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye.
Hey kids, we want to see your work. Just send your pictures and your stories to TV Classroom, 601 South 8th Street, Tacoma, Washington, 98405.